a big pile of white clothing, and you need to put them in your washing machine. But inside the pockets of some of these white trousers are red socks. And you've got a very big washing machine and you keep putting them in, and you don't take out the red socks. We all know that the more red socks that get into that washing machine, the more pink colour, the more red dye is going to go into the clothes, but the more pink your clothes are going to be at the end of the cycle. So you need to go through and you need to make sure you get as many of those red socks out of those pockets as possible to make sure that your clothes remain pure and white when they come out of the other side of the washing machine. Now, you might miss some. We're humans, so you might miss the odd red sock. But at least if you miss the odd red sock, you're still going to have reasonably white washing at the end of it all. Even if you put 40 pairs of trousers in and only 2 red socks go in, they're only going to be a little bit of dye run out, they're only going to be a little bit pink. But if you put 40 pairs of trousers in and 80 red socks, because you've got one in each pocket, those trousers are going to come out very pink. Now, managing your thoughts in meditation is much the same as this concept. What you're looking to do is those thoughts that do not serve you, those thoughts that are negative, that are impure, those thoughts that lead you towards the temptations that we don't want to go into, those thoughts that lead you towards the behaviours that are self-destructive, things that are unhealthy or negative energies towards others in whatever sense it might be, you know, addiction, so on and so forth. Those thoughts are your red socks. And in meditation, you're going through slowly and taking the red socks out. And you're taking away the red socks from your washing. So as at the other end, when you go through your cycle, the cycle being life, your washing comes out pure and white. Your being is the finished article. Hey guys, so unbelievable skies here at the moment. We've had the first rain, so everything's a little bit green. People are digging the fields and it's a blessing. We're still low on water, still got the drought going on. So we still have limited water supply. So we're just praying that we get more rain in that direction so the reservoirs can fill up. But with the rain has come a lot of extra work. There are persons coming with roofs that have caved in on their houses. There are people coming where the houses are being washed away, for example, stuff of this nature. The roads are all bad and it's hard to access places. So with it comes more stresses, if you will. And this has made me want to speak about, because I've had a lot on my plate the last few weeks, and even not long ago I just had to pause and sit still and get into the middle of myself. I had to meditate. But I wanted to speak about how I often speak about esoterics in scriptures. Now, there's a purpose behind me doing that. I don't, first of all, I'm deeply, deeply passionate about it and interested in it, of course. But just studying scriptures and history and books and so on doesn't lead me to, all it does is it's a signpost to my spiritual practice. Now, my spiritual practice I find hard to speak about because you're sitting in silence ultimately. So it's very tricky to teach people. You need to sit in silence and watch your breath. I mean, there are far better teachers than I out there to do that, where you can physically sit with a meditation teacher, or you can look to somewhere like the Tao and Zen, etc., to find the center of yourself and observe your breath. And when you come there, you find a very peaceful and loving place in yourself. Now, the benefits of meditation are not just a daily de-stressor. This is not what it's about, but it's also about cleaning your character. Now, this is represented in esoterics and in scripture. But if you don't understand the esoterics, my whole point in sharing it is I come from a predominantly Christian background. And if someone had shared with me the esoteric meaning, I would have perhaps come towards meditation and the desperate importance of it much sooner. This is why, as I say, I meet persons from the Christian faith. Some are fine, because some of us are just more naturally in tune with our higher self, but many are not. Many are dwelling in the lower and they don't know how to get out. They haven't got the tools available. They're just kneeling down and praying and saying, please help me and help me. And it's not working, because tomorrow, when they're finished praying, sometimes when the temptation arises again, they haven't got the discipline to stop it, nor have they got the ability to understand how to take away the temptation, as it were. Now, this is wanted, actually, by the teachings of the Christian texts, but it's represented in a different way. Now, if you can imagine a way to see cleansing yourself, is imagine you have a big pile of white clothing and white, let's say just white trousers, let's say white clothing, a big pile of white clothing, and you need to put them in your washing machine. But inside the pockets of some of these white trousers are red socks. And you've got a very big washing machine and you keep putting them in and you don't take out the red socks. We all know that the more red socks that get into that washing machine, the more pink colour, the more red dye is going to go into the clothes, but the more pink your clothes are going to be at the end of the cycle. So you need to go through and you need to make sure you get as many of those red socks out of those pockets as possible to make sure that your clothes remain pure and white when they come out of the other side of the washing machine. Now, you might miss some. We're humans, so you might miss the odd red sock. But at least if you miss the odd red sock, you're still going to have reasonably white washing at the end of it all. Even if you put 40 pairs of trousers in and only 2 red socks go in, they're only going to be a little bit of dye run out, they're only going to be a little bit pink. But if you put 40 pairs of trousers in and 80 red socks, because you've got one in each pocket, those trousers are going to come out very pink. Now, managing your thoughts in meditation is much the same as this concept. What you're looking to do is those thoughts that do not serve you, those thoughts that are negative, that are impure, those thoughts that lead you towards the temptations that we don't want to go into, those thoughts that lead you towards the behaviours that are self-destructive, things that are unhealthy or negative energies towards others in whatever sense it might be, you know, addiction, so on and so forth. Those thoughts are your red socks. And in meditation, you're going through slowly and taking the red socks out. And you're taking away the red socks from your washing. So as at the other end, when you go through your cycle, the cycle being life, your washing comes out pure and white. Your being is the finished article. Now, many cultures have used different things to represent this, and one thing which has been misinterpreted is that of the unleavened bread in Christianity. Because this was a cultural means, just as I've used there a modern means to describe the removal of your thoughts that are not pure and not negative for yourself in meditation. Over a period of time, you won't do it in one day, but the management of your thoughts. And as you remove them one by one, and the things you don't require, you end up with your pure white washing. Eventually you can end up with the most purest you can. Now, in ancient terms, they don't have washing machines, so they didn't use that metaphor. They used the metaphor of leaven or yeast. And it is said that even if a small amount of leaven goes into your bread, the whole thing will rise. The leaven is the sin within your body. The red socks are the sin within your body. If you let a little bit of yeast in there, if you let a little bit of leaven in there, if you let a few red socks in there, it's going to pollute the outcome. If you let a little bit of yeast in, your bread will rise. If you don't let it in, your bread will remain flat. And if the yeast is the sin and the negative aspects of ourselves, then you don't want your bread to rise, you want it to remain flat. And if the sin and the negative aspects of ourselves is the red socks, you don't want the red socks to wash out into your white laundry and turn it into pink laundry, because it's going to pollute you, because that pink laundry is the sin expressing itself in your being. And the same as at yourself in your waking life, you don't want your negative nature to overcome you. You don't want your negative thoughts to pollute you. You want to find a space of purity within yourself, and to do that you must watch your thoughts. Now, many people want to do battle with the enemy. They want to battle Satan, and it's like, right, gloves off, I want to fight you. And sometimes that is how the battle against evil is fought, on the very physical level. Here we have, as you've seen in a recent video, we have men now with pump-action shotguns who guard us on a panic button. So if any witch doctors come, which are ultimately the work of Satan, to try and do anything to these children as they have in the past, then we press the button and physically a fight ensues. A fight of light and dark. A fight of good versus evil, because for sure you can only deem what they do as evil, and the men that protect them as good. If they came tonight and the Maasai got into a fight, you would say that there's a physical battle between the goodness we deem as God against the badness we deem as the work of sin. However, the most imperative battle to all of us is not done with that attitude, because if you have that attitude of, right, I'm ready, you're going to lose. You will lose the battle. Because the true and toughest battle to fight with the enemy, with sin, with Satan, with the demons of your lower self, is done from a very peaceful and gentle place. If you're going to manage your thoughts as they come in, you have to be centered and still and quiet and ready. If you're tense and you're ready to face it, you'll find that you don't have as much control, and you might latch on to the wrong thoughts. You give them a home within your subconscious, within your conscious. You give them a home within your being, and you are the collective of what your thoughts are. So if you go into the idea of battling the enemy must be done with anger and with zest, then you will always lose the internal battle. Because the internal battle is done with a great deal of peace and patience and stillness. And that is the true way that you can eliminate the enemy from your life. If you need liberating from a certain addiction or a certain sin, it's only in a certain peaceful state of being that you're going to be able to do that. Because you're going to see the thought coming in, and you're going to not give it your attention and let it pass from your being. But if you're not in a peaceful state, you might not even see that the thought is coming, and you focus on it. And then you begin to act on it. And then it manifests in your life. Be it a drug, be it immorality, be it whatever. I know I've been there. I'm human. And even I've practiced a lot of meditation, and I speak about it a lot. I can't forget. And I like to top up. And with teachings, I mean. And the thing is, with esoterics, it's just a pointer to that place. And that's the important place. The place of finding discipline with ourselves and overcoming the lower nature. And when we can do that, imagine all the negative behaviours that haunt humanity come from the lower aspect of ourselves. Imagine if we could teach our children, all children across the planet, to liberate themselves from that lower nature. Imagine the world. And that's what esoterics is for. And if you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist, a Hindu, whatever, Sikh, Zoroastrian, pagan, Jain, whatever you are, whatever belief system you follow, if you can take the time to go inside yourself and manage your thoughts, be the watchman of your own thoughts, be the guardian of your own thoughts, and with it your own being and your energy, you can liberate yourself from your lower nature. And everybody can do that. Whether you profess Jesus as the Son of God, whether you follow the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, if everybody in one room who does those things all follow different beliefs and faiths, if all of them have overcome their lower nature, they will find peace and union and productivity in the concept of God. And they won't need to argue, because arguments come from your lower nature. And they will serve God and the betterment of humanity and the end of the suffering of people all around us. But if someone in that room is corrupted by the lower self because they haven't found dominion over it, then they're going to argue and bicker and slow the group down. And this is what we see as a collective on the planet. The collective is slowed down by persons like that because they haven't yet escaped the labyrinth of their own mind to come to the higher place, a place of no human thought where God can speak with you. And even any form of Christian can do that. And the reason I speak mainly on Christian esoterics is I see that as something that's missing from it. And clearly when the Western world is dominated by the Christian faith and Christian churches, is so deeply entrenched predominantly in sin and crime and drugs and sexual immorality, that there's something missing from it. Maybe the evolution of Christianity is to start teaching its congregations how, and not just what you should be like, but how you can be like that. And that is why I speak on it. And this is what I hope it does, is just point people who are in the position I was to say, I understand what a good person's supposed to be, but I have no idea how to get there. And how to get there, there is many signposts inside the Bible which speaks about this. For instance, not having the leaven inside your bread. But how do you take the leaven out of your bread? That's what I'm interested in. And I'm sure somewhere on this planet, buried in a cave, that there must be some writings by Jesus that are very clear, just as the writings that were very clear in Tao and Buddhism were, or Jainism, on how to take that leaven out. It's just yet they've not been found. But up to now, at least it's encoded in there. At least it can be seen. If you study mysticism, you can't possibly deny that it's in there. Which means you just say, well, what's it pointing me at? And if it's pointing us towards something so beautiful and simple as a means to become better human beings, so we don't sin, so that people know how to stop sinning, so that people know how to live from their higher nature, from the place of God, and not from the place of the enemy, the place of Satan, the lower nature, then we should take notice of it, because it can only help. It doesn't take anything away from the story of Jesus Christ or the sacrifices made. It adds to it, because instead of people following and not being able to be as he was, not being able to go out and meditate on an evening whilst his disciples sat around, because they don't know what it means to do so, then and people are unable to fast because they don't know how to come around that. But if we just taught persons, you know what, if you sit very still, you can find a dominion where you tell your body, no, I'm doing this right now. And when you find it, last night I went for a run. I ran around about 9 kilometers and I came back here and I stopped, but Fritzi was not ready for us to start our dinner. And I said, well, I've got some time to spare and I still have some energy, I'll go for a run. But when you run and stop, it can be tricky, because I was getting a bit cold from the sweat on my top, and my body was saying, no, I'm not going for another run. And I said to my body, and with my mind as well, I said, yes, you are. And I did. I went and added another, whatever I added on, another 9 kilometers onto my run or something like this. But I told my body, yes, you are doing that. And herein lay the problem that we see on the planet, is that so many people have left so many red socks in their washing, it's got to the point where they don't know how to say, you're doing this. They've left so much leaven in their bread has risen so much that they don't know what to do. They don't know how to tell the body to do this, that or the other, or the mind. They don't know how to be the master of their own thoughts. Instead, their desires have mastered them. But if you teach people how to take those red socks out of the washing, they'll get there. And eventually they'll have a cycle of perfectly white washing. And that's the only reason I speak about esoterics, because I see that if people can do that and then can find a point where they're coming from their higher selves, then people can get out in the world and start helping. And I am a voice for persons who need help. God has placed me in that position. And every night, as well as the blessings I go to bed thinking of, I also go to bed with the faces of many people I know right now. I can't help because I don't have the resources and there's not the manpower to help. But I know where they are. I know how they suffer. I know where they suffer. I know where they sleep. And if my voice can carry to one more human being who can give up whatever it is they're doing and come and help, or decide to be more like Christ and be more charitable instead of sitting at home arguing about this, that and the other, about who's right when people need them right now, then I think that's a good thing. And I just hope that that's how people see what I'm doing. I don't do it to rub someone up the wrong way, as you would say. I don't do it to argue with people. I only do it because I hope that it's going to wake persons up or help them to liberate themselves from their lower nature, which is where I did once dwell, and come and help and serve and to do as Jesus Christ taught, or to do as the Buddha taught, or as Krishna expressed we must do. It's very straightforward. I just want people to help one another. And if someone had said these things to I when I was looking in the Bible for answers, then as God did when I was fasting, then it did help me, because it allowed me to keep hold of my Christian foundation, but at the same time it allowed me to open up my mind and to find spiritual practice which allowed me to be as this role model was, and to be loving and have practical tools to take the sin out of me, to take my red socks out of the pockets, as it were. So, and that's my only hope, that it does that for others. Otherwise I wouldn't speak about it. So, okay. I'm going to get off. I just saw a flash of lightning. I might be going to get some more rain, and which is good. I think it'll fill up for the water shortages, as I mentioned. And hopefully, though, it doesn't bring too many people with destroyed homes. So, because that's stressful. When people are calling out for help, the only place they can come is you. It's tricky. And my meditation allows me to stay centered, to tackle these problems. But I also, as humbly as I can say, feel it allows me to take as many red socks out of my washing as possible, so that my cycle produces as white an end cycle of clothing as possible. So, I presume for most of you that metaphor will make sense. So, God bless.